"Ma'am, step out of the vehicle, now!" The words sliced through the air like a blade. Blinding sun bounced off the hood of a black Porsche, idling on the shoulder of a scorching Texas highway. Inside sat a woman, still, composed, watching the officer in the mirror like a hawk studying a snake. Lucy Mitchell wasn't speeding. She hadn't swerved or broken any law. Yet the flashing lights behind her, the crunch of heavy boots on gravel, and the hand hovering a little too close to a holstered gun, told her none of that mattered. She adjusted her sunglasses, hiding the quiet fire in her eyes. This wasn't her first time, but it might be the last. She faced it silently. The officer, a tall white man with mirrored shades and a confidence that curdled into condescension, stopped at her window. His voice oozed smugness. "You always drive cars like this in neighborhoods like mine?" Lucy didn't flinch. "Neighborhoods like what, officer?" He smirked. "License, registration, and I'm gonna need you to pop the trunk." Her grip on the steering wheel tightened. "May I ask the reason for the stop?" "You didn't signal when you changed lanes back there," he said flatly. A lie. They both knew it. Lucy handed over the documents with precise calm, her movements trained, deliberate. The badge on the inside of her jacket brushed her wrist, but she didn't show it. Not yet. He flipped through her license, squinted, then motioned her out. "That in order?" she asked. His jaw tensed. "You resisting?" Lucy sighed quietly and stepped out. Asphalt heat clawed at her heels. She stood with poise, head held high. Her tailored suit glinted just slightly under the sun. Expensive, powerful, but not flashy. Her presence unsettled him, though he didn't know why. "Turn around. I'm going to check your vehicle," he said. "Under what suspicion?" "Ma'am, don't make this harder." She didn't argue. She just watched. He rummaged through her trunk like he was looking for vindication. Clothes, case folders, a laptop bag, nothing. Then he held up a small pouch, something she used to carry her Bluetooth earpiece. "What's this?" he asked, eyes brightening with accusation. "My headset case." He turned it over in his hand like it might explode. "Looks suspicious." Lucy blinked. Suspicious headset case. Noted. She was calm. Too calm. It made him nervous. Made him angry. "You don't look like someone who owns this kind of car," he muttered. Now she turned fully toward him. No more hiding. "And what exactly do I look like I should own, officer?" Their eyes locked. Something flickered across his face. A mix of unease and realization. But it was buried quickly, hidden beneath the crust of years spent unchallenged. "You need to come with me," he said suddenly. "Failure to comply. Possible possession. I'll have the station sorted out." Lucy didn't move. Instead, she slowly reached inside her blazer and pulled out a badge. Sleek. Federal. Lethal in implication. The man froze. "My name is Special Agent Lucy Mitchell, FBI," she said, her voice as cool as steel dipped in ice. "And you just made a career-altering mistake." The silence that followed could have swallowed the sun. He stumbled a step back. Look, I was just—" Lucy raised a hand. "I've been investigating systemic discrimination within local law enforcement for the past 3 months. Congratulations, Officer Bowers. You just volunteered as Exhibit A." She turned to her car, slid back inside. Doors clicked shut. In the rearview mirror, she saw him standing there, badge suddenly heavy on his chest, mouth slightly open, as if the air had betrayed him. The Porsche pulled away slowly, tires whispering over the sizzling pavement. And for the first time in years, Officer Frank Bowers was left staring into the sun, blinded not by light, but by the truth. Lucy Mitchell sat alone in her motel room, a half-empty glass of water on the nightstand, and a storm of memories swirling behind her eyes. The beige walls, humming air conditioner, and flickering light above the mirror blurred into background noise. All she could hear was the officer's voice from earlier that day. "You don't look like someone who owns this kind of car." She had heard that line before, too many times. Different faces, same tone. Different uniforms, same assumption. Her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown caller. She let it ring twice, then answered. "Mitchell." "Agent Mitchell, this is SAC Donnelly. You didn't inform HQ about the contact today." "I handled it," she said curtly. "That's not the point. The point is, you went hot. You revealed your identity. He left me no choice." A pause. Then a sigh. "We're 2 weeks away from a full report. You exposing yourself now jeopardizes the entire investigation." Lucy stood up, walked to the window, and stared out at the parking lot. The Texas heat still simmered off the asphalt, like smoke from a fire. "He threatened to arrest me, Donnelly. You think I should have smiled and let him pat me down?" "No," he replied quietly. "I think you're doing exactly what we hoped, showing the truth. Just keep your head. You're not bulletproof, Lucy." She hung up. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured the rest of the water into her mouth. Not from fear, from fury. The kind of quiet, burning rage that builds over a lifetime of being underestimated. The next morning, Lucy sat in the back of a nondescript sedan parked outside the Midwood Police Precinct. Tinted windows, laptop open. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, pulling up internal complaint logs, officer incident reports, body cam transcripts. Frank Bowers had a file. Of course he did. Not a large one. Not obvious. Just careful patterns. Multiple stop and frisk reports with non-compliant suspect as justification. 6 internal complaints dismissed for lack of evidence. 2 body cam malfunctions. 1 unofficial note. Assertive but effective. Maintains officer presence. Lucy smirked bitterly. Officer presence. Translation: intimidation with a badge. She tapped the screen. Behind the patrol car authority, there was fear. These men feared losing control, feared people like her, people who looked wrong but knew too much. Inside the precinct, the atmosphere buzzed with something taut and unspoken. Frank Bowers sat at his desk, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the monitor in front of him, but not reading. Not really. His world had tilted. He'd called in sick this morning, got dressed anyway, couldn't sit at home, too much noise in his head. She had looked at him like she knew everything, and maybe she did. The whispers had started. 2 officers had stopped talking when he entered the locker room. One of the lieutenants avoided eye contact. The tension wasn't spoken, but it had scent, like sweat before a fight. He kept replaying the moment she held up that badge. FBI, not just a Fed, a black woman. And she had looked him in the eye like she owned the ground under his feet. Bowers wasn't used to that. And deep down, beneath the uniform and bravado, he knew he'd gone too far, that he'd crossed a line. But instead of guilt, all he felt was panic. He needed to reassert control, rewrite the story before it became the official version. That evening, Lucy returned to the precinct, this time with a camera, not a visible one. The button on her blazer recorded audio and video, linked in real time to an encrypted drive. She walked straight through the front entrance, presenting credentials that no desk sergeant would dare question. "I need to speak with Chief Rodriguez," she said. He met her 15 minutes later in his office. The walls were lined with plaques and citations, the air too clean, the blinds half closed like secrets. He didn't rise from his chair when she entered. "Special Agent Mitchell," he said, gesturing to the seat across from him. "You've made quite the entrance." I didn't come for applause. I'd imagine not, he replied. You've also stirred up quite a few questions. Officer Bowers has filed a complaint. Has he? She said evenly. I wonder if he mentioned the unlawful search, the racial profiling, or the fabricated cause for stop. The chief's lips tightened. He mentioned an aggressive reaction from a civilian driver, someone who escalated instead of cooperating. Lucy leaned forward. Do you know how many black professionals get pulled over for lane changes in this county? Have you reviewed your department's traffic stop demographic logs in the last fiscal year? I don't think. You don't. That's the problem. You let men like Bowers run unchecked because they write neat reports and call it presence. But presence doesn't justify prejudice. He shifted in his chair. Are you accusing my department of institutional bias? Lucy didn't blink. No, Chief. I'm proving it. And in 2 weeks, this office will receive a full report. But you have a chance, right now, to get ahead of it. Start owning the cleanup. You're threatening me? I'm giving you an opportunity. The silence was thick. It hovered like a decision not yet made. He looked at her for a long moment, then picked up his phone. Have Internal Affairs join us. Word spread fast. By the next day, Frank Bowers was under suspension, pending investigation. Officially, it was for procedural conduct violations. Unofficially, it was for getting caught. The department was a hive of tension. Half the officers refused to speak openly. The other half whispered in corners. Lucy could feel the electricity of fear and resentment, especially when she walked through the building like she belonged there. Because she did. Yet no matter how many cameras she carried or titles she had, she couldn't shake the tightness in her chest. She knew the road wouldn't be smooth. People didn't like being exposed. They struck back, and they'd strike at her if they could. 3 nights later, she sat in a diner, sipping black coffee, trying to breathe. The case files were spread across the booth in front of her. Names, patterns, statistics. But her eyes weren't on them. They were on her phone. She was staring at a photo, an old one. Her father, Officer Richard Mitchell. Houston PD, badge number 4172. Killed in the line of duty when she was 12. He'd told her once, after another cop had shoved him outside a courthouse, "They don't see the badge, baby. They see your skin first. Never forget that." She hadn't. That night, Lucy didn't sleep. She prepared for what came next. At sunrise, a press release went live from the FBI's Internal Affairs Unit. Anonymous, but damning. An agent embedded in a local law enforcement unit has uncovered a pattern of misconduct and discriminatory stops. More details pending investigation. By noon, the local news caught wind, and by sunset, the precinct phones were ringing non-stop. Lucy sat back, watching the chaos from her laptop screen. Local headlines, officer comments, a public press conference canceled without explanation. They didn't know it yet. But justice had already begun to uncoil its grip around their excuses, and Lucy Mitchell was holding the leash. By Monday morning, everyone was watching. News vans crowded the front of the Midwood Police Department. Reporters angled microphones at every exiting officer. Civil rights attorneys weighed in on morning shows. On social media, hashtags spread like fire. #sign Midwood stops, #sign justice for the profiled, #sign Agent Mitchell. Inside the station, the mood was sour, walls heavy with silence and suspicion. The kind of silence that settles over an army before surrender. In the middle of it all, Lucy Mitchell moved with precision. No arrogance, no celebration, just purpose. Because this wasn't about vengeance. It was about the record, the truth, the facts no one could bury anymore. She passed 2 officers in the hallway who refused to meet her eyes. One muttered something under his breath. She didn't react. She didn't need to. They'd already lost control. The department held a closed-door meeting at noon. Chief Rodriguez sat at the head of the long conference table, flanked by his legal counsel, a few nervous captains, and a stiff-looking representative from the mayor's office. Lucy stood at the far end, briefcase at her side, remote in hand. The screen behind her flickered to life. One by one, she brought up slide after slide. Names, dates, stop frequencies, internal complaint patterns, racial profiling ratios. Frank Bowers wasn't alone. He was simply the one arrogant enough to get caught on tape. For 30 minutes, no one spoke. No one needed to. Every face in the room reflected the same thing: dread. When she finished, she closed her laptop and looked directly at Rodriguez. "You have two options: clean house from the inside, or watch the Department of Justice do it for you." The chief rubbed his temples. "Bowers is gone," he said. "We're suspending 2 others pending full review. But you know how this will play out." Lucy tilted her head. "Do I?" "You'll get stonewalled. Legal teams, union reps. The moment this goes public, we lose narrative. We lose support." She took a slow step forward. "You lost the narrative when one of your officers pulled a gun on me over a headset pouch." A silence cracked through the room. The mayor's rep cleared his throat. "We'd like to propose a joint press conference, a gesture of transparency, one where the department acknowledges failures and commits to internal reform. On your terms." Lucy narrowed her eyes. "My terms?" "Yes. We're offering you the floor. People trust you now, more than they trust any of us. If you speak—" "I'll speak," she interrupted. "But I'm not softening the truth. If you want a face to fix your image, find another puppet. I didn't take this assignment to patch a sinking ship." Rodriguez exhaled sharply. "Then what did you come here for, Agent Mitchell?" She held his gaze, unblinking. "I came here so that no 12-year-old black girl ever has to memorize Miranda rights in case she gets pulled over walking home from debate club." The room went still, and no one had a word to follow that. The press conference was scheduled for the following morning. City Hall, 10 a.m. Lucy arrived early. She wore a navy blue suit. No makeup, no jewelry, no rehearsed smile. Just her. As she stepped onto the stage, dozens of flashbulbs exploded. She paused in front of the podium, looked out at the crowd. Journalists, citizens, students, a few officers in uniform. Then she began. "When I was 14, my father, Officer Richard Mitchell, was pulled over while off duty by a fellow cop. He was in uniform, badge visible. They made him lie on the sidewalk anyway, said he matched a description." She paused. "I didn't forget that. I joined the Bureau not to break systems, but to expose what they refuse to see in themselves, because you can't reform what you won't acknowledge, and you can't heal what you refuse to name." She took a breath. "Last week, I was stopped unlawfully, searched without cause, threatened with arrest. The officer responsible didn't know I was FBI, didn't care, because what he thought he saw was more important than who I actually was. Imagine what would have happened if I didn't have that badge." She let the silence sit for a beat. "And that's the point. Power isn't about position. It's about assumption. And when assumptions carry guns, they become dangerous." She looked directly at the cameras now. "To every young black woman watching this, who's ever been told she's too angry, too loud, too ambitious, you are none of those things. You are aware. And this country needs more of that." Thunderous applause erupted. Some reporters stood. Others blinked back tears. For once, no one interrupted. No one tried to own the moment. It belonged to her, and to every person like her who had been silenced for too long. By afternoon, Frank Bowers' resignation letter had been leaked. So had body cam footage. Raw, unedited, showing his voice as he barked at her, her restraint, her badge, his sudden stammer. The footage went viral within hours. Lucy Mitchell didn't post a single word. She didn't need to. The truth spoke loud enough. A week later, back in Washington, she stood before a Senate subcommittee on law enforcement oversight. One senator leaned forward. "Agent Mitchell, do you believe the culture of silence within police departments is the root cause of misconduct?" She looked him squarely in the eye. The root cause is fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of being held accountable. The silence is just the sound fear makes when it's wearing a badge. He nodded slowly, visibly shaken. And just like that, a new standard was set. In a quiet coffee shop near DuPont Circle, Lucy finally let herself breathe. She stirred her drink absently, watching people pass outside. Normal people, in normal lives, unaware that one woman's calm resistance had started a chain reaction across the country. A young girl at the next table accidentally knocked over her smoothie. It spilled across her worksheet. Lucy leaned over instinctively, helping her mop it up with napkins. The girl's mother thanked her quietly. The girl glanced at her ID badge, peeking out from her purse. "You're the lady from the video," she whispered. Lucy smiled. "I am." "Were you scared?" She paused. "Yes." The girl hesitated. "But you didn't look scared." Lucy leaned down. "You don't always have to look like how you feel. Just don't stop moving forward." The girl nodded, and Lucy watched her return to her homework with a fresh kind of focus. And for the first time in weeks, Lucy allowed herself to smile. Justice hadn't won forever, but for once, it had won today.